She is back and she feel better. Thank y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Thursday. I forgot to put it on the video, but this is video number 8. So I'll go back and change that. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I feel so much better than I did yesterday. Yesterday was a real struggle. But I still appreciate y'all watching the video and sharing it. I wasn't my normal, naturally effervescent self. Amen. But I appreciate y'all watching these videos. This is video number 8. That means there are 7 videos prior to this. Common themes throughout, but I usually try to hit on something different every video. So, and I'm sorry, the videos are long. That's just the answer. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So appreciate y'all. I really do. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow will be the final video. So tomorrow's video will be video number 9. I almost feel like I need to go ahead and make it 10, right? I'm like, we're just going to see. We're just going to let the Lord lead us. But I did not feel well yesterday, and I did a video anyway. And I'm glad I did the video because it made me feel like I had some purpose yesterday. The rest of it was in the bed. Couldn't move. Couldn't do it. We got to take care of ourselves and get the rest we need. Because we're not going to be any good to anybody if we're not good to ourselves. So, but I realized yesterday's video was called Lions, Mules, and Boots. And I ain't never talk about boots. And so if you looked at the video, say, well, she mentioned the lion, because that's the African proverb, until the lion tells his tale, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. And then I mentioned the mule, because I was talking about 40 acres and a mule reparations. I ain't never mentioned boots. So I wrote down boots on this piece of paper. So these boots go with yesterday, but it's just boots. It's just boots. So y'all don't let me stop before I talk about boots. But I named this video Symptoms of an Illness. Because everything that I'm telling you about, again, is information that's readily available. These are not editorial pieces. This is just, me regurgitating, as I said, feeding the baby birds this information just so they can digest it. Y'all, we're seeing a shift. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. It's not going to happen overnight. It might not happen in our lifetime, but we are seeing a shift. And when I say we're seeing a shift, it means we've been black since we've been black. And ain't nobody ever cared. And people at least acting, I'm going to say at least acting like they care this week. At least they are acting. That is an improvement. Okay. We're going to receive it. Praying for all y'all. I pray for everybody every day, because if everybody ain't okay, ain't nobody going to be okay. Pray for everybody. But symptoms of an illness, you may have noticed in most of these videos, if this is video number 8, I have spoken very little consciously about police brutality, about George Floyd. And even though you might see the hashtag George Floyd or the video of George Floyd being murdered, or you feel like that's why people are marching this week, or about George Floyd. And then on the one hand, when you start seeing violence and looting, you want to say, this isn't about George Floyd. It ain't about George Floyd. When you see all the people in the streets, you see me doing these videos. I hadn't even mentioned George Floyd because it ain't about George Floyd. George Floyd was last week. That's what happened last week. The only reason we have a George Floyd or a Breonna Taylor or a Mike Brown, or the only reason, too many names. I won't even try to name all of the black people who have been lynched. There's an entire museum in Montgomery for the first batch. So when I say it's not about George Floyd, it's because the reason why George Floyd was murdered is because of police brutality. Police brutality is a problem. It's not the problem. It is a problem. Police brutality is a symptom of the illness. So you might have a sore throat. You are not a sore throat. You have a symptom. You have a cough. You are not a cough. A cough is a symptom of your illness. The illness is racism. The illness is deeply rooted. The illness is why you have all of us black people here in the first place. Because you were sick with an illness of racism because you believe white people were better than black people. And that's why these black people are enslaved and should serve us. And everything else has just been a symptom of the illness. all of the health disparities, education disparities, wealth disparities, everything. Drugs. Black people don't own planes and boats to transport drugs from. But you know what? Drugs found their way to us. And because we wake up depressed, because we are disenfranchised, because the system is working, hey, these drugs make us feel better sometimes. Oh my God, these black people, they didn't tore up their neighborhood. They look at all these people on drugs. Oh, crack, what? So just like that made its way. It's the same way, very similar, how pallets of bricks make their way near every protest site. Man, bricks just magically appearing. And all somebody got to hear is one glass break, and it's on. We breaking glass. Let's get it. Oh, there goes some bricks. Who brought it? Did you? Well, we don't know. If we give it to them, they'll tear it down themselves. All you got to do is just give it to them. They will tear it up themselves. And we'll talk about how they tear up their own stuff. Talk about how they don't have families. If we teach them how to not have a family, they won't know how to have a family. But anyway, it's all just symptoms of an illness. It's just a symptom. It's not our illness. We're not the ones sick. We just, I remember, was it Reagan? Trickle-down economics. Y'all heard that phrase, trickle-down economics. That's why they try to stimulate the economy. They try to send you a check, stimulus check, so then you will spend money. And then as you spend money, like it's a cycle, right? Trickle down. So let's talk about the trickle-down economics of the country. We don't even have to talk about it. The trickle. We dry. Ain't nothing trickled down. Even though we built it all. We thirsty. It don't ever trickle down to us. And if you thought it trickled, if you thought you saw a black person lick their lips and say, that tasted good, ooh, you mad. Because that's not the way this is set up. Let me get to these boots. Because I will talk again today and not talk about the boots. The reason why I wanted to talk about boots is because a symptom of the illness is that black people don't try hard enough. And a white person who is angry that you think they have white privilege because they don't understand what that means. They understand now. Oh, I do have white privilege just because I was born white. Doesn't mean I didn't have a struggle. Didn't mean I didn't have a fight. Didn't mean that I didn't have challenges. So I don't have to defend against this idea of white privilege anymore. We got that earlier on an earlier video. But white people, and again, we qualify. I'm talking to the white people that I'm talking to, and I'm talking about the white people I'm talking about. I'm not going to qualify which white ones I'm talking about. Just whoever receives it in their spirit. If you feel convicted, then I'm talking to you. But white people like to argue and say they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. Ooh. The commander-in-chief likes to say he built his entire fortune from $1 million loan from his daddy. Ooh, what? That wasn't true either, but it don't matter. But white people like to tell you I worked hard and I applied myself, and black people don't work hard and they don't apply themselves, and I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. Well, child, black people ain't got no boots. We ain't got no boots. We found some old boots on the side of the road, child. And we said, hey, there goes some boots. And I keep hearing white people talking about these boots and bootstraps. And I'm going to put on these old raggedy boots. They don't even fit me, but I'm going to put them on. They wasn't made for me, but I'm going to put them on because I'm going to pull myself up by them too. And white people said, wait a minute, where he get them? Where did this black get? Where did they get? Who get these boots off of him? He don't get boots. He do not get boots because you black. That ain't how this is set up. All right. Yeah, I feel better today. So yesterday I was talking about the black family, and I mentioned black little boys and how they are groomed to be prisoners, but I left out my black little girls. And you know what's amazing about black little girls? Black little girls. Ever since we was brought here, black little girls were special. Unfortunately, ever since we were brought here, black little girls have been sexualized and have never been seen as innocent. Black little girls never get a chance to just be little girls. They be fast little girls, or who cares about that little girl, or ooh, that little girl gonna be on the pole. But we do it to ourselves as well. Little black girls never got a chance to be innocent in America because once they were born, they were property. they were slave babies or they were mistresses of the enslaver. Little black girls today still don't get to be innocent. Little black girls are missing. Don't nobody care. We ain't looking for them. They ain't make the news. People don't look for missing black kids. We look for missing white kids because they missing. I like to look up stuff. I like to look up stuff to know. Because, again, these are not opinion pieces. And I would not get on here and be doing hour-long videos talking about what I think. Because who cares? Somebody else thinks something else. I don't care about what they think either. So that's why this is not what I think. I research it. I read it. I think about what I want to talk to you about. And then I go get the information about that thing. And everybody can do it as well. Did y'all do the homework assignment for yesterday? Did y'all look up slave beatings and whippings? Did you look that up yesterday and click on images so you can see that? Okay, please make sure y'all Google this stuff for yourself. But black people are the minority in this country. 14% of kids in America are black. 14%. However, they make up 37% of missing children. A third of missing children are black, but only 20% of those stories actually are part of missing children news coverage. We don't look for black children because a lot of times the authorities just classify them as a runaway. So we're not even going to look for them. Little black girls have always been sexualized because when we were brought here, we were just something they could have sex with. We couldn't fight. We weren't big enough to say no. We weren't allowed to say no. Y'all ever heard the story, or read the book or saw the movie Diary of Anne Frank? Most of us had. It was like almost, I think it might have been required in our education. I know I saw it in school. The Diary of Anne Frank, about the little Jewish girl and what she went through. She kept a diary as they were hiding from Hitler during all of the time in Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. And it's an amazing story. I want you guys to maybe think about reading Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. That's a book called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by Harriet Jacobs. It was published in 1861. Black people, this was the abolitionists, they would publish abolitionist papers and books, and so they were able to find publishers and whatnot. But anyway, this little girl was a slave, Harriet Jacobs, and she hid in her grandmama's attic for 7 years. Hid in the crawl space. It's probably wouldn't call it an attic, a crawl space, I'm sorry. Crawl space for 7 years before she was actually able to escape. Little girl. And but before she did that, her mistress allowed her to learn how to read and write. So she knew how to read and write, so she was dangerous. She was already dangerous because she could read and write, y'all. But because they had been allowing slaves to read and write, they had an inkling that you might need to keep them a little bit on the dumb side so they don't know no better. But then because they had never really seen what could happen if you let them get an education, it's cute. Oh, well, I'm learning how to read. I taught my little slave how to read. So after Harriet Jacobs escaped or whatever, one of the things she said in an interview, and I wrote this quote down, and I just wanted to sit in your spirit, because she was a slave, and she wrote a book called Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. She was sexually harassed by her master, and she hid in the crawl space of her grandmother's house for 7 years before she was able to escape. But this is what she said. She said, the more my mind became enlightened, the more difficult it was for me to consider myself an article of property. They need you to not be enlightened, and then you'll be okay. Have it go. Arbitrary sway. We learned that from George Washington earlier in the week. So we don't look for our missing children. Not saying we don't. Y'all don't. A lot of people of color underreport situations to the police because they don't trust the police. Again, symptom of a problem. We're not going to call the police because they're going to come over here and they're going to talk about, they're going to come shoot me in my apartment and say I had weed in the bathroom. But they don't look for us. So the problem with missing and exploited children, police brutality, keep in mind we are the minority. We are not the majority. The majority in this country are white. The minority is black. However, police brutality is so disproportionately affecting black people, right? So when people want to say, well, police kill white people too. Yes, they do. Police brutality, that is not racially exclusive to anyone. Police brutality is a thing. But you don't have as many black people over here as you have white people, but yet you have more black people being murdered by the police. Again, a symptom of an illness. That's all we saying. 13% of the population, but 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police. So if people actually paid attention to police brutality and saw who it disproportionately affects, and every time black people say, rah, 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 ooh, the police killed this guy, and they want to tell you about all the bad things this guy did, we get to see white people murder a whole bunch of people and get a hamburger on the ride home with the police feeding them himself. Amen. These are called modern day lynchings. Let me tell you, when you hear lynching, you think about being hanging. Back in the day, primarily it was hanging, but it is when you are being killed for an alleged offense without a legal trial. You are murdered for an alleged offense. You ain't getting no trial. You were lynched. You may have been shot. You may have been stabbed. You may have been choked out with a knee on your neck. But you were killed for an alleged offense without a legal trial. That's why we're talking about it today. This is history, and history in the making. We keep making the history. Do you know when the police pull over black people, there's already an assumption of guilt. There's already a motivation of fear. You're afraid of black people. Why are you afraid of black people? Well, because you know how black people are. I don't. Tell me. When you get pulled over by the police, we were talking about how earlier in the series, I keep saying we were talking about, I was talking about it, we was talking about it together, how depending on where you are in the conversation, you had a different experience. So two people can have the same conversation, but depending on where they came from, where they're going, where they're standing, and their life experience, they had a different experience of that than the other person. Doesn't mean one is right or wrong. In this case, it does. But most of the time, it just means I heard this based on what that means to me. So when slaves were freed, they were often stopped and harassed by law enforcement, and they would have to show their papers, their freedom papers. And so slaves knew that they had to keep this paperwork that says, I have been granted my freedom, not by my creator in the Declaration of Independence of those unalienable rights, meaning you can't even take these rights away because I was created, but I got this paperwork because you gave me some new rights that you're going to take away again. And we had to show our papers, our freedom papers. And so if they said, what you doing out here, boy? Eyes free. Eyes free. Look, eyes free. So by the time we hear license and registration, they'll ask anybody for that. White people, they ask for your license and registration, but they probably didn't pull you over in the first place. And they probably just assume you have it. And so by the time we nervously reaching for the glove box to show our freedom papers, no, let me just shoot you before you get there because I feared for my life. It's a symptom of an illness. All you got to do is be black, and you should be afraid because they won't necessarily give you a chance to get those freedom papers because they felt threatened. That's going to be tomorrow's video, the final video. They do feel threatened. They do. Y'all, we got to talk about words. That's tomorrow's video. Put a pin in it. Amen. They do feel threatened. Oh, for good reason. Good reason. They feel threatened. Oh, that's tomorrow. Symptom of an illness. Okay. I appreciate y'all watching and sharing these videos. I do. We planting seeds. We good. I ain't gonna cry today. I had to have a whole talk with my ancestors. I said, now girl, you ain't gonna have me crying on these videos. So we good now. Look, I just said something about it. Didn't even cry. Hell, we talked all day yesterday while I was in the bed. All right, so just wanted to touch on a few more little things. I was talking about the sexualization of little girls and of women, black women. Black women have very rarely been seen as actual humans, ever. You know, we have always been seen as sexual beings. And so no matter what we wear, we're doing too much because of the way our bodies are made. She messing with me now. When they in the slave trade, and they saw these melanated bodies. What is this? Oh, they were beautiful. Gosh, they were so beautiful. But they had to tell you it was ugly, so you didn't understand your beauty. Why do you think they keep raping you? Oh, they can't take their eyes off of you. Today, I want y'all to look up Sarah Baartman. Sarah Baartman was a South African slave. Yes, Neville, just talk about Sarah Baartman, a South African slave. They would travel, Sarah Baartman, all over the world, y'all. She traveled the world because she had a big butt. Okay? And they would put her in freak shows because this slave had this big butt, and look, you got to buy a ticket to see Sarah Baartman's butt, and we just gonna parade her around because of how her body is made, and look at her butt. Now, they buy butts like that today. Kardashian, I didn't say nothing about no. But child, she was in the circus because of her big butt, baby. Look up Sarah Baartman. They paraded this black woman around, naked most times, so people could admire and be astonished at her body. Today. And so when they see a black woman, they see this beautiful melanated body. They see round lips, brown skin, ample bosom, big old butts. They mad. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. We start talking about, if I say Kardashian, you talk about cultural appropriation. So there's again, a lot of racism, the illness. It's about a coin. It says two sides of a coin, right? So you have cultural appropriation. That's when one culture borrows things from another culture, okay? Cultural appropriation. And then you have assimilation, where one culture tries to blend in with another culture. So black people, we have had no choice but to try to assimilate into your culture because you took us from our culture. We don't know our culture. And you told us this was the way we got to be. So we have to have this Christianity. We have to read this Bible. We have to pray to this God. We have to speak this particular language. We have to straighten our hair to look a certain kind. You know, we have to do all these things to try to assimilate in a culture that is not ours. But yet and still, even though we are ugly and dirty and black and nasty and not worthy, not even considered human, Lord, let's go sit out in the sun so we can get a little browner like them, because they are. Did you see these brown people? But if we sit in the, have you noticed when you sit in the sun, you get a little brown? Ooh, we can put on some, make us browner. Ooh, look at their lips. We're going to make fun of them because of these big lips, but can you make my lips bigger? We're going to make them feel bad about how they were born so perfectly, but can you do that to me? These are not opinions. But generally, cultural appropriation is when you take a culture from a lesser people and try to act like it's yours. Let me tell you something. You got this brown skin, you got these big lips, you done bulked your butt, and baby, you know what they call you? Call you exotic. These are not opinions. She looks so exotic. Do she though? Do she? But they tell us black women, we are not the standard of beauty. We are not the standard of beauty. We're not going to be on the magazine covers. Don't nobody want to look like you. Ooh, they want to look like you. Don't nobody want to look like you. Jesus. Y'all just Google it for yourselves, okay? But anyway. So cultural appropriation affects a lot of different things, from like, music and fashion and all those different things. And everybody borrows something from everybody. That is actually what would make this country great, is that we all just learn and grow and just, be with each other. Now, once we were brought here, we didn't have nothing to do with that. That wasn't our idea. But at that point that we were brought here and then we were freed, it was like, okay, well, then we just all doing this America thing together. Let's just all do this America thing together. But again, that would not work out, because the people that made the rules had to keep the black people beneath them for it to be okay. So when you start having entertainment, and we'll talk about blackface, when you start having entertainment and all that kind of stuff, we can't have the black people providing the entertainment, because entertainers is still, as it's always been a upper echelon, entertainers today are still seen as a greater entity and whatnot. And so they would get white people that would paint themselves, use grease paint or shoe polish to do blackface. And so when they would do blackface, that would be when they would be imitating black people. Well, a lot of times the imitations of black people in this way, they were portrayed as lazy and stupid, hypersexual. Ooh, them black people be wanting to have sex. Do they though? But they do be want to have sex when they want to have sex, just like everybody. But superstitious, threatening. And so what's crazy is a lot of the original people that were doing the blackface, the white people, were actually the poorer white people. Like the Irish, I guess, were kind of like the poor white trash of the European colonizers. Again, it's all about a class system. I didn't make this up. I didn't decide it to be true. And so what these poor white people would do, they would be the entertainers that would put on a blackface, because guess what they could do? They can hide their lesser level of whiteness by being black. And so as long as I can mock something else, I can't be the worst. That's why people make fun of people and try to make people feel bad today, because I feel bad about myself, but I can find somebody that I can try to make feel worse than me. And so, but at some point, black people actually did blackface, because that was the only way they was going to allow them in the movie, was to be blacker and have them big pink lips and all that. And but the problem with the black people doing the blackface is the black people kind of tried to add a little dignified situation to the portrayal. But that ain't what we don't want to see black people dignified. That's not even true. Black people are not dignified. They shuffling and chucking and jiving, and they raping all the white women, and they don't read and don't work, and they lazy, and they sleep all day, and they eat watermelon and fried chicken. That's what we want to see. Okay. Well, okay. So this particular video is supposed to be like sports and entertainment and all that. But listen, y'all, there's no way for me to be talking about all the contributions of black people. That would be like, earlier video, you say, I have a black friend. Oh, you got one? So I'm not even going to try to it's a whole lot. It's a bunch. It's a whole bunch. But a lot of times you might notice, it might be on the news sometimes, or just as a lot of situations, we in 2020, we talking about 400, 500, 600 something years, right? And y'all, it's still so many things that it's still the first black this, the first black to do that, the first black to do this. And I need you to understand, when you hear that something was the first black to do it, it's not because black people ain't been wanting to do it, or hadn't been trying to do it, or hadn't had an aspiration to do it. That's all I want to say about that. It wasn't because we wasn't trying. All right, let me tell y'all, we was talking about that. We was talking about race mixing. Racist white people don't like race mixing, and again, it was not our idea about that race mixing. So I had to look up the numbers about genealogy and race mixing, because as I mentioned yesterday, when I was not feeling well about the whole DNA and ancestry or whatever, and we don't really know where we're from, but we just know we are American. That's all we know, that we are American. We don't know nothing else but that we're American. 58% of African Americans have at least 12.5% European DNA. That's the equivalent of one great grandparent. Why are you mad today? I'm going to say that one again. 58% of African Americans that means black people in America, have at least 12.5% of European DNA ancestry. That is the equivalent of one great grandparent. So if you say, oh, that's my great grandmama, you are 12.5% of that person. Well, not our idea. It was not our idea. 19.6% of African Americans have 25% of European DNA. That's the equivalent of one grandparent. 19, let's just say 20% of black people, regardless of what they look like. One percent of African Americans have 50% of European DNA. That's equivalent of one parent. Now again, you might not even look white. The way you can end up having 50% of European descent and not know is because they combining all the different European influences through all your DNA, and it equals 50%. 5% of African Americans have 12.5% of Native American DNA. That's equivalent to one great grandparent. So when white people say they don't see color, that's not true, but it's also not comforting. We need you to see color. We just need you to not think that makes yours better. That's basic. That's a basic idea. Shameless plug. I wrote a children's book about my dogs who are different colors, different breeds. They like the same food, the same toys, doing the same thing. Same thing. It's a children's book called Sugar Loves Bella. Because before this week happened, or last week happened, before I even knew I was going to be doing these videos, I knew I wanted to be a part of planting a seed. And if I can get your children to understand that we can all look and be different and all look and be great. That was for the kids. This is for y'all. So when white people say they don't see color, that's what this country has been based on. Color. Yes. Do y'all know about a one-drop rule? Have y'all ever heard of that? The one-drop rule? Have y'all heard about the one-drop rule? Yeah. The one-drop rule was that if you had any black in you, you was black. So the reason why they had to come up with rules, laws, this was, you know, this was a rule instituted in the 20th century, y'all. 20th century, 1910. Tennessee adopted this idea first. Again, they just keep making up laws along the way. Came up with this, but then everybody think that it applies to them, so we got to come up with something else, and then, you know. But the one-drop rule, a lot of white people might not realize what the one-drop rule is. The one-drop rule is that if you have any black in you, you are black. Well, but we colorblind. We don't see color. No. We need to know that you're black, so we need to know how to disenfranchise you. We got to know how to keep our knee on your neck. And you might not look black, but if you got any black in you, we're going to call you black, because God forbid you be treated equally. So we got to, if you got one drop, that's more than enough. All right. So, the one drop rule was because black people started passing. Some black people started passing. What does that mean? That means their ancestors had been raped enough that they didn't even look black no more. I really be trying to figure out how to say it softer, but I just be wanting us to get to today. So by the time black people looked white, they were still black. Probably had a black mama, black, you know, but they came out looking white because now their DNA and their gene pool has been so diluted by the master. And think about it, master is probably raping the product of a rape. Yeah. And then her daughter will be raped, and she's the product of a rape, and she's a product of a rape. They coming out white. But their mama's a slave, yeah? Their mama's a slave. So that means they black, yeah, but they look white. Why they look white? So black people who started passing, I think some of them unintentionally, people just didn't know what they were. They saw them. And so they were treated better because they didn't look black. So if you being treated better and it's because they don't know you black, you probably not going to say, Oh, now you know I'm black, right? People do it today because of some protections, but back then you wasn't saying, "Oh yeah, I'm black. I ain't supposed to be here." You would just be like, "Ooh, okay, these white people ain't even noticed that I'm black." Oh, okay. And so then you had a whole generation of people who were able to kind of mix and mingle into the world because they did not look black. And then once they start realizing, y'all, we didn't rape too many of these slaves and they is coming out looking white, but they black. They had to have the one drop rule that says if you had any black blood in you, you qualified as a black, that means you disqualified for any of the American privileges. Thomas Jefferson had a slave named Sally Hemings. Now, all of this is on the internet. This has all been proven through scientific DNA testing, but Thomas Jefferson, I think he wrote something that we be talking about all the time. Thomas Jefferson had slaves, and he had one particular slave, Sally Hemings, and he had several children with Sally Hemings. And a lot of Sally Hemings was the result of a rape, and so she was a fair complexion slave, and the children were fair complexion. Several of Thomas Jefferson's black children were able to pass for white. He allowed two of his slave children. Let me go back. Even though their daddy was Thomas Jefferson, they were still considered slaves because their birthright was through their mother. Their mother was a slave, so that means she gave birth to what? Yes, a slave. Even though their daddy is Thomas Jefferson, yes. So he allowed two of the older kids to escape. He couldn't set them free because then that would have made people think that Thomas Jefferson wasn't down for the cause. He already got these black babies, but y'all have to realize back then that was status that I got slaves I could rape. That's status. They currency. Look at this. Look at how beautiful she is. Yes, that's my property. And he freed some more kids in his will. Freed his children from slavery. His children from slavery. He freed them. Okay. Birthrights, legacies, one drop rule. We got to know that you are black so we know how to mistreat you properly. Now, the federal government never really adopted those laws. It was like Virginia and Tennessee, and it was just kind of a known thing. And it's still to this day, when you see people with mixed race, they have to pick which side they on. And if you got a white mama and a black daddy, you probably look black. So more than likely you have identified as black. Barack Obama and a white mother, a black father, he identifies as black because in this country, we have to be able to call you something. But we don't see color. We just see the heart like the Lord taught us. We just see people's heart. All right, so like I said, I was going to try to talk more about sports and entertainment and how as long as you are being entertaining, if you are black, we don't need to hear nothing about the black struggle. We have a situation here in Alabama. Jermaine Funnyman Johnson. Boy, white people used to love him because he's an Alabama football fan, as I am. I'm an Alabama alum, Alabama football fan. He make these fun little videos, and boy, white folks love watching Jermaine Funnyman Johnson watch football games, and they share the videos and they laugh, and he's a stand-up comedian. I've worked with him many times, known him many years, consider him a friend, and boy, I would say, boy, Jermaine, these white people be coming out to see you. Woo, they love you, boy. Woo! That's Funnyman's story. Let's just say that has changed. He ain't cute no more. Amen. But that's Funnyman's story to tell. Amen. Lift him in prayer. But white folks is mad. Why they mad though? I don't know. I done some video, so go see why they mad. I don't know. You just make me laugh. Don't make me think. You're not here to make me think. You just here to make me laugh. You just here to entertain me. You're not here to make me see what's wrong. You're not here to make me see I'm part of the problem. You're not here to make me understand who you are. You are here to entertain me. You are here for my enjoyment. You are here for my pleasure. If you are not entertaining me or bringing me joy and frankincense and myrrh, please don't be talking. That is not your place. Shut up and what? Dribble. the black people that play sports, they're different than other black people. I would be okay with my daughter marrying one of them because they're rich and they're famous and they're not like the others. And I'm going to go ahead and tell this story because she told me to. I told her I wasn't going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it. I never had an issue with interracial dating or marriage. I still really don't. I don't care. If you find somebody that like you long enough, hey, blessings to you because I ain't figured that thing out. But when I was younger, before I went to college, I was raised to believe you love who you love, however it goes. So when I saw black and white people race mixing, it never affected me in a negative way because they found somebody they love. That's how I was raised in my black household by my single mother. In my disadvantaged home, I was raised to just know that everybody is everybody and it don't matter what they look like. If they love you, they treat you right, they respectful, and they know how to cook. They know how to grill out. That should be your mate. When I became a freshman at the University of Alabama, when I was a freshman at the University of Alabama, I was the only black girl on the floor of my dorm. So my freshman year, I think it was like 13 floors, Tutwiler. Y'all know it well. And I was on the second floor. My name is Eunice Elliott. So maybe whoever was doing the room assignments at that time didn't realize that was a black person. But anyway, I was placed on the second floor, but I was the only black person on the second floor. So all of my floor mates and suite mates were white girls. And so when we had some of our first little meetings, when you move in and the resident assistant, y'all talk about stuff, whatever, I was the only black one. That's when I found out I was the only black one. I was like, oh, I'm cool with that. When I moved in, my white roommate was already in the room because she went to sorority rush, which starts before school actually starts. And so when I moved in, she moved out. Amen. That's all right, though. That's all right. So I actually got assigned another roommate. I let them pick whoever it was. And she was a white girl, another white girl. They just sent another white girl to now move into the room that the other white girl moved out of. And what was funny is that particular white girl had been reassigned because she had a black roommate who didn't want to live with her. And so then they put a black girl and a white girl together who a white girl and a black girl already didn't want to live with us. And she's one of my bestest, dearest friends to this absolute day. But that wasn't the story I was trying to tell. Because I was the only black girl on the floor, sometimes when we have group things and, I would tell people, let's get to know each other, let's talk, let's hang out. And people would come by and we would talk and we hang out. And a girl said to me, she didn't blink, she didn't flinch. She did not think anything was wrong with what she said. And she said to me, my daddy told me not to bring a nigger home unless he has a number on his chest. Unless he's an athlete. My daddy told her, don't bring one home unless he got a number on his chest. I'm going to move on. Let it sit in your spirit. So when we see the draft, we love our sports. I worked in sports. Love our sports. When we see the draft, we can't help but have some kind of remembrances because they used to have the draft. They called them slave auctions. And, we don't want to go there, but we would auction off these big, beautiful, melanated, strong bodies because that is our currency. So forgive us for not seeing the heart. And we so divisive and we don't want unity. But when we see the black young men being drafted to the highest bidder, and we see that white woman next to her and know that she probably got instructions from her daddy to make sure that was her space, that ain't none of my business. That ain't none of my business. So anyway, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is an athlete that sacrificed a good portion of his amazing career because he spoke up. And he spoke up because back then the United States was getting ready to go to a war against Vietnam, and a lot of people did not agree with that war. A lot of people did not think that that was a thing to do. You can go back, Google it, research it. That ain't none of my business now. But Muhammad Ali, being a boxer and having heavyweight titles and being a star, he got drafted because he qualified to draft. They changed some of the rules. They had to lower some of the qualifications because he was not a good reader or writer. And so he failed initially, and then they had to, kind of lower the standards, and then he got drafted again. And he said he was a conscientious objector to the war. And they said, what? No, you don't love America? He said, I love America, but I'm paraphrasing Muhammad Ali, but he just said, why as a black man would I go and bomb some other brown people when I can't even get respect here? Y'all treat me like a dog here, but you want me to go and fight some other people that ain't do nothing to you. He said, I'm not going to do that. And because he did have to sacrifice so much, he was arrested and trials and went to the Supreme Court. He had to do all that. They don't want to hear him talking about that. That's not what you're here for. Your racism shows up when you put your children in Little League. Yes. First, you mad because them little black kids look bigger than your kids. This ain't fair. But let's say some of them little big old black kids is on your kids' team. Y'all winning. Oh, it's fair. But that little kid, I saw this on the internet. My sister sent me something. You have to realize your racism when you excited that your child's team is doing well because they got these big, strong, fast little black kids on the team. But them little black kids don't get invited to the team sleepover. Why? It's not because he's black. I just don't know his mother that well. Or I don't think his mother will let him come because she don't know me that well. Well, why don't you know her well? Well, because we don't talk to her at the games. We don't talk to her at the games. But you know what? That little boy grows up and he's still doing well in high school and college. And now you want to sit next to her at the games. And you want to talk about him, how you've known him since he was in Little League. He still ain't never been to your house. She still ain't never been to your house. But you know him. You tell everybody about how you know him. Yes. LeBron James is a very vocal professional athlete. I don't know if y'all ever heard of LeBron James. He's a basketball player. So LeBron James did an interview and he was just talking about life, basketball, political climate, and he gave his opinion on what he felt. He's a black man in America, and he just kind of gave his opinion. Well, Laura Ingraham of Fox News, this was a couple years ago, she did not appreciate LeBron James giving his opinion about what he felt about being a black man in America. Why? Because he's doing well. You LeBron James, what kind of problems you got? We don't want to hear that. We let you succeed. We let you succeed in America, so why would you have a... Laura Ingraham from Fox News said, it is always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Keep the political comments to yourself. Shut up and dribble. It was a few years ago, Laura Ingraham. But why are we talking about it today? She said, shut up and dribble. She said, don't nobody want to hear what you got to say. Don't nobody want to hear your feelings or your opinions or anything you've ever gone through. We allow you to make $100 million a year. Shut up and dribble. I had to, y'all know me, I'm a little bit petty. I had to go see how much she make a year. She makes $15 million, so that's why she mad. $15 million is still a lot, but that's why she mad. So LeBron James executive produced a documentary called Shut Up and Dribble. Watch it yourself. I would do just that. Let me make a 3-part documentary. Y'all, what's so crazy is you might see your girl in that documentary. I'm not talking, but I know LeBron James from another life, and you might see me in that documentary. You gonna see me. Look for me. But go look up that documentary, Shut Up and Dribble. I've been doing all my little shameless plugs because if you didn't know me before, I hope you know me now and you stay around. Tomorrow's the last video. Stay around. I'm usually a bucket of laughs. It's just hard to dribble with your knee on my neck. It makes dribbling hard. All right, y'all. I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. A symptom of an illness. All of it. So don't say, well, we let you do that, but you don't let me do that. But I let you do this, but you can't do that. But you made it there, but I can't make it there. Because you don't see color. You don't see color. You see the heart of man because you are a Christian. Yes. That's how you sleep at night. That's how you sleep. If you are silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it. That's Zora Neale Hurston. Amen. Last video is tomorrow. This is video number 8. If you haven't watched the 7 previous videos, they're on my page. If you haven't followed my page before, follow my page. You can watch them anytime you like. Share them. Please share them. We planting seeds. Y'all, we seeing a shift. We seeing a shift. We are, y'all. That's all we can do is do better. That's all we can do is do better. Yes. I appreciate y'all. I do. Keep sharing. When you share the video, you spread the seeds. We're having conversations now that we've never had before. And that's the blessing. We're having conversations we've never had before. And that's all Black people have been wanting, is to be heard, to be seen, to be respected, to be American, just like you.